Hey folks, Wandering Kid here. Welcome back to my continuing playthrough of SpaceChem. We're currently on the 4th planet Alkonost, and we're going to take on the challenge, Going Green. It's an optional challenge. Now in this one, I just want to bring to your attention, this is definitely one where you choose what you optimize. You can basically choose between reactors or elapsed cycles. As usual, I'm going to go for an elapsed cycle optimization. You can go also for symbols used if you want. So here's the board. I've got this big old plant over here, big old thermoelectric plant. Emits carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, some nasty stuff. We're going to try and turn that into sulfuric acid and carbon. Okay, so your hints for the board. Your first hint is notice the ratios between carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. They'll make sense. Your second hint is get the carbon loose and ship your oxygen. Your third hint is you've got 5 reactors. Go nuts. Alright, so let's start off. Our first reactor is going to be a straight up splitter reactor. Where do we want to ship things? That's all it's really going to do. So we know we're bringing in hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. We want to do 2 very different things with these, and we've run out of outputs. So we need to get them into separate components. So we're going to just simply move these bonders out of the way. We don't care about them. We'll bring red in. Now, the only key piece here is there's only one common point to grab on. It's either this oxygen or that hydrogen. Come along this way, and we will make a decision. If I have it by the oxygen, go up. And if I do have it by the oxygen, let's, oh, where do I want to drop it? We'll drop it here. This will be for later. So we'll let it know we're putting our CO2 here. Otherwise, we've got it by the hydrogen sulfide here. We'll drop that there. We'll do a double out. And away it goes. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We could end up with a cycling problem. So what I'm going to end up doing, because this will offset, is I'm going to tell blue not to go until red gets its other pickup. And then blue's going to do a follow through. So this will look like this. Red will... Gosh darn it. Let's try that again, bringing in the right items. It knows it's got hydrogen sulfide, ships it out. This knows it's got oxygen. Comes up here, ships it out. And so on and so forth. Simple enough reactor. Whoops. I forgot to put in my notes. There we go. That's better. Now I got my notes. Okay. Now let's start with the carbon first. Okay. Let's see. We will simply do that. Off you go. I'll be throwing carbon out down here. Now, I do want to set this up so that I can bring in the oxygen and play with the sulfur the way I want to. Or at least use open. So what I'm looking at is I know I'm going to have to wrap sulfur with oxygen. So if I can set the oxygen up in a place where I can slide the sulfur into it and just join it easily at the starting point, that's my intent. So to do that, I'm going to want to make my life a little easier up this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an in. We're going to grab it right here on the carbon. Come up this way. And we're going to tell blue that it's allowed to start doing something here. Now, do I care about blue? Not particularly. So we're just going to send blue up against the wall. I'll have to start unbonding. Oops. I'm going to do it in the correct color this time. There's an idea. And I won't need this sink. Actually, I don't want it to continuously unbond. The reason I want to continuously unbond is when I slide through with the carbon oxygen, it will get one unbonding here, and then it'll get an unbond. Actually, no, that'll be fine. I was concerned, if this was a single bond, I would start running into the oxygen, but that should be okay. So we've unbonded it. We're going to put oxygen here and here. That will make our lives a little easier. And red will come down here and dump off its carbon, which will ship out on the Omega. So let's wait until we get what we need. There we go. Alright, so our molecule's coming. And this assumes everything has shipped. Huh. Don't think that will be a problem in the long run. We'll come back to that. That's not supposed to show in pipeline, but it does need some room to work with. Alright, let's try that again. So we grab it by the carbon, come over here, gets unbonded, delivers the carbon, and our oxygen here is waiting to go. Alright. We could do a ship of psi there. The other question is, do I want to optimize this for cycles? And I do. So what we're going to do is, red's going to tell it blue can sync here. So it's going to do its unbond with red. It's going to do the out on psi for it. I'm going to tell it to unbond again and go back that way. So what'll happen is it'll sit on the sinks and it'll go through a bond out, unbond out, unbond order, and it'll just swing back and forth. And I can actually, let me swing that way. Let it do the Omega out as well. Yeah, that should be alright. This way it just swings back and forth doing all the outs and the unbonds right on the sink. So I won't need that. Okay. So we know we've got our oxygen set up here, but the next thing we need to do is split out sulfur and hydrogen. Ooh, I'm having a good time with that pipe. Do you mind? Thank you. So, next batter. Let's break up our hydrogen sulfide. I won't want the blue one yet. So let's see, let's come in, let's add, let's grab it. Let's come this way, we'll unbond it. We'll come down this way, we'll drop it off, and we'll come up this way. Once it's unbonded, we'll tell blue it can go. Blue will grab. Yeah, where do I want my hydrogen? We'll put it up in here. And this gets a sulfur here. Actually, I think I want my hydrogen over there. So I'm going to switch how I'm organizing this. I'll figure out where this start goes here in a second. So it's been synced, it grabs, it ships out on psi. Comes down here, that actually needs to be a grab drop. It will grab drop there, it will come up this way. Grab drop again. Do an out, come back into the sink. Start up here. So what it's going to, here, I'll actually just show you. It helps if I grab things in the right place. Other than having the outs wrong, that worked. And I just need to adjust this to show that the hydrogen's going out there. So we'll have hydrogen going out on this square in a small loop, while red goes and gets the next one. Oops. Okay. So now I've got my oxygens here, and my sulfur coming out of this one. New reactor. So if you notice, I'm bringing in sulfur here and oxygen here. Now, I need to look at this for a second. I've got to decide which way would be easier. I do want a little room between them to be able to work with. Because what we're going to want to do... let's start red here for the giggles of it. We will bring in our beta. We will grab. We'll come this way. We'll bring in 2 alphas to bring in our oxygen. I'm going to need a little more room, it looks like. So we do our in. We'll bring in both our alphas. We will grab our sulfur. We will sync twice. On the second sync, we will tell blue it's allowed to start. Well, on the first sync, we're going to tell blue it's allowed to start up. It will start its double bond. Which will add in 2 oxygens on a double bond here. I don't need this thing. It's just visual clutter for where I'm working. So it double bonds. And then it tells red it's allowed to go. Red will come up here. It needs to rotate twice while it comes back through to sync again to tell blue that when I get here, oops, I want 2 wins on alpha. Then I want a single bond. And you're free to go. Now red will have a double and single bond on the oxygen attached to its sulfur. We will drop that here and send it back around and do an output. And our output should look like this. Where am I dropping that? Here? Okay. So we've got all our sulfurs, but we're going to have double bonds turned top and bottom, like so. So in theory, this is what we're going to end up with. However, because this reactor doesn't have room to play with its hydrogens, we're just going to extend that out for a second while I wait for this to get fed some of it. Why is the sulfur not leaving? That would be this one, and that would be because I don't have an out on Omega. There we go. So this has come in. It's gotten its sulfur to come in the first time. Now we're waiting on our oxygens. Goes in, it gets... Oops, that was 1 too many turns. I only needed to turn once. So it turns it around. It comes in for the sync again. We're waiting on blue to pull in 2 more oxygen. It does so, bonds it once. I've got something wrong up here. Okay, so what did I do wrong here? We wait for a carbon, a CO2 atom. Comes in, it unbonds, ships that out. Hits the sink, unbonds. The problem is the out on the Omega actually does need to be on the red. so that I don't have a timing problem up this way. Okay, fair enough. What was happening was the carbon hadn't actually been dropped by the time I was doing the out on the Omega up here on the blue repeater. Which is fine. So let's make sure this is just happy hunky-dory. That works, and it's out. And now I'm shipping the wrong things out. Let's try this again. Okay, they all unbond properly. Start in, wait. Okay, that unbonded properly. Aha. If you'll notice, where this arrow is on the start, it's not immediately bouncing back to the bond minus. It's actually going down into the start area first. With the arrow here, it will behave itself. So this is where we got into the problem last time. It still wanted to go right. Now it should be forced to the left. There it goes. Okay, easy enough. So now we've got our most of our sulfuric acid molecule built. Coming out of here. So we have one more reactor to work with. Let's use it. So we have hydrogen coming from here. Excuse me. Do you mind? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to need a little room. We'll just do my little pipe wrap routine. Thank you. Where does the hydrogen go? That way. And you're close to the bottom here. I don't think there is a good choice. Alright. Maybe I do want to switch this one around so that I'm dropping up on top. Well, we can make it work either way. So we're bringing in our SO4, and we've got our hydrogen atom here. What we're going to want to do is attach to our oxygen on our single bonded sides a single hydrogen. So I want to do it there. Let's get blue out of the way. So we're going to bring in red. We're going to do a grab here. We're going to come down. We're going to do a, oops. We're going to do an in on beta to bring in our first hydrogen molecule. We will do a bond as we cross by, and we pick it up with one of our oxygens. Once we've done that, we'll come across it. So I'll be here. I want to get out of the spawn area, so I come up one. Now we'll do another in on beta. Come this way, and when that happens, we'll put a bond on there. So we'll bond up our second. And we've got it by the sulfur, so we should be able to drop there and ship. That should work out. I don't think we're going to need blue. I don't think we're going to have the third, but we'll see. So let me just make sure everything's getting fed in. Okay, so it's waiting on its hydrogen. We've got our sulfur molecule coming in. We grab it, bond it up, come across here, bring in another one, bond it, come up here, drop it, ship it, and move on with life. Now, while that was happening, a single SO4 atom was built for us. As long as I'm not shooting myself in the foot anywhere else, I should be okay. What's happening over here? I'm not producing CO4. What has happened here? My Waldo has taken a walk on me. Okay, hang on. Ah, there we go. Okay, I am having problems with keeping everybody from running into each other. There's a surprise. Okay, we want red to not go. until we know blue has completed. So red tells blue to start, blue tells red it's done. Okay. There's a surprise. Down here, we could theoretically run into the same problem if any of our downstream reactors start backing up. In particular, our hydrogen sulfide splitter could run into trouble. Because it's waiting on our SO4 atom. We don't have any kind of storage tanks. So, yeah, this sink should work. What I'd like to do is put in a second pair of please don't hurt me sinks down here. What these two will do, so I'm starting, blue will sit on this sink until red passes this one. Blue will come through and grab something and sit on this sink until red gets here. And repeat. So this will keep them on opposite sides of the build. I think that should do it. Alright, so let's take a look at what we're doing. Our first reactor is going to just simply take carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide and send them to different outputs. That's all it's going to do. It's just going to get everything split up for us so we can figure out where everything's going. Down here, we've got our carbon splitter. What it's going to do, it's going to take carbon, it's going to unsync it, send our carbon off to the waiting freighter, and ship our oxygen out on a split point. Blue's going back and forth. When it hits the sink, it's sending in the extra bond, so I don't have to have red sit there while blue does work. And it's going to take care of the out on psi, so red doesn't get slowed down any more than it absolutely has to. Up here, our hydrogen sulfide splitter brings in a hydrogen sulfide atom. I have a collision. Wonderful. Where did we collide? This is in my splitter. How did we collide in the splitter? This is the one that separates carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide to two separate outputs. What happened? So these sinks are too close. That's what happened. Make sure red is way out of the way before blue brings in anything. The hydrogen sulfide was sitting here when blue came in and brought in a carbon dioxide. So the L shape ran into the CO2 down here. All right. Well, these things happen. One more time for the boys back home. So here we have our splitter. This time, synced up properly so that we don't shoot ourselves. All it's going to do is send CO2 in one output, hydrogen sulfide in another. Our hydrogen sulfide splitter... Oh, this is our carbon dioxide splitter, excuse me. Carbon dioxide waits for a CO2 atom to come in. Our blue atom is sitting up here, or blue Waldo, excuse me. It comes through, it triggers a double bond off when it comes by. It drops off carbon for our freighter, and we're dropping out a split pair of oxygen atoms. Blue just runs back and forth, sync, unbond, out, unbond, sync. The second unbond isn't necessary except for the rollback. Probably do that in a square, but it's easier this way. Our hydrogen sulfide splitter is waiting on something. There it goes. It was waiting on an out. So it brings in its sulfide, or hydrogen sulfide, excuse me, drops that off, ships the sulfide out, drops off hydrogen in this particular square, and everybody kind of waits for each other so that I don't run itself over. That hydrogen feeds into a reactor you're not ready for yet. So here what we have is we're bringing in our sulfur and our oxygen split. Red comes through, brings in our sulfur, brings in two oxygens, tells blue to start up, does a double bond, it comes through, rotates it once. Blue comes through, brings in two more oxygens, bonds it once, tells red it can go, and away it out. Our SO4 comes into this particular module. Red grabs it, comes down, bonds it to one hydrogen, Gets out of the way, loops back up, grabs another hydrogen, drops it off, and ships it. So that's our solution for this particular one. Let's see how I did. Not bad. 1,404 cycles, 5 reactors, 122 symbols. We have completed the challenge, going green. As always, thanks for watching. If you'd like, please drop a like on this video or leave a comment. I always appreciate them. See you next time.